Hi guys, it's Ben again and welcome to Nerf Mods for Dummies. I constantly get asked what's my favourite blaster, and to me, nothing beats a brass breech longshot. And I get asked a fair few times, how do I make a brass breech longshot? There is a few tutorials out there that you can read and follow step by step. It would be a very long engaging video, but I found something nice and easy for all you guys can do. I've ordered some parts here through Spenceworkz, who's a new guy. He's turned up on Facebook. Let me just quickly show you. That's what his page looks like. I will put a link in the description. He's an importer for Artifact, for Worker. He's a reseller for Australian Nerf turf springs. Whatever you want, he's got it. Anything else you need for a long shot. Like I said, he imports pump grips as well. I have a Gavin fuzzy one here today which I'll install because I really do like Gavin's prints. And the other thing of Gavin's I'm going to install today is the quick release for the long shot. Okay, so this is going to be a fairly long intensive video, so I'm skipping through a few parts. First of all, I've already undone all the shell, so and you'll notice there's no internals. Okay, what's happened with this is Spencer will custom build you a full length brass breech, which is here, here, and here, which I'll go through in a minute. So I pulled all the internals out of this and given them to Spencer, and he's created a brass breech. Spencer does this for people, and it costs $60 if you give him the breech. If you don't give him the standard breech out of your long shot, it's going to cost you an extra $20 because of all because you have to search around and try to find them. So what you get with his breech is it's in pieces so it can be easily shipped. This is your breech. This part goes into your plunger tube. That part connects, and then you got to lock it in with a bit of super glue, which we'll go through in a minute. And then this is your barrel that actually sits forward into there, which we'll go through that again in a minute too. A few things that I always do before brass breeching a long shot, or before upgrading a long shot. People always say, I need to get upgrade springs for your long shot. No, you don't, and I'll show you how. In the mag holder here, in the mag well, there is a very powerful little spring that will hold up to 14 to 16 kilos. And you've got two of them in your long shot, so you don't need to go looking for other springs unless you're going insane. And I know from personal experience, if you decide to go insane, I'm talking 20 to 30 kilos, you can put two of these together, wrap one inside the other one, and put it onto your stock catch. So just use a magnet to get the old one out. There goes the old one. And then the much beefier catch spring, straight onto there. And I said Australian Nerf Turf is doing the double spring ups at the moment, which is the 16 that wraps inside the 8, which I can show you here. They've only just been released. But for this long shot I'm only doing the 16 because I have 3 long shots. 8, 16 and 24 kilos, and this is the 16 one. So first of all, the catch has changed. So that's going to comfortably take a 16 kilos spring now. Other thing is too, I'll put that back in. Your stock will collapse if you use anything stronger than the stock spring. So what you can do is what I've always done. Let me put that in place first and screw that back in. Or not, I'll just leave it out. Screw it. I've got 2 bits of pipe cut to that length and taped together. Place them in there, and that becomes your buttstock block, your stock block. I made them a little bit tight, so there you go. That will sit in against there, so every time you prime it, that's not going to collapse on you now. So I just cut up 2 bits of 16mm conduit. You can put in a block of wood cut to size, you can put in whatever you want cut to size. Okay, so first super glue to get this breech together. When he brasses it, he cuts it here. And this is, like I said, this is Spencer. It's 3D printed parts there to fill in, so it kills off all your dead space. There's a rubber ring on here, which you need a bit of lube. So don't mix up your super glue and your lube. That one's not open. That one is. It's a little bit darker than normal at the moment because I am filming this at my workbench, which has no natural light. So bear with me a bit, it's not going to be my normal filming area. So this is the rubber ring, lube it up nice and well. And always inside the plunger tube, nice big dob, lube it up. So after I've done this, I want to go through a couple of other things with the long shots. So that's nice and lubed. Drop that in there like that. Use the plunger to make sure it's in. It's a nice tight plunger, a nice tight seal. And by doing that, by putting pressure against it, you can tell that there's no leaks and it's nice and tight. And just got to run that lube in there a bit to get it moving a bit more smoother. That's better. Because like most of these, it compresses more at the end, so you're pushing air there, and then when it gets to there, it's 100% air push through. Right, so let's glue this in place because there is a few more things we need to go through on this kit. And this will take a couple of minutes to go off. Right. I'm just running a bit of super glue around it here to lock the two pieces in together. Now he cuts it right on the hole here. I don't know whether you can see it. You look for the corresponding there to tell you that it's straight. And so I just need something to push some resistance through the other side. Should be my plunger rod. Then you glue it together with the two halves of the hole touching, so that way it's glued together the way it's cut, so it's going to be a lot stronger. So give that a minute to bond, then I can put it down. Okay, like I said, with Spencer he doesn't only just make the breeches, but he does a lot of importing through other companies as well. He's importing now the artifact metal sleds. So that's an artifact metal sled. It's an alloy sled that is good quality and a decent price. My personal long shot, my 24 kilo, runs that. That's a Roboman sled made in America, and it costs you, to get to Australia, about $120, $130. These he has here in Australia already, and I believe they're about $80. And undo the screw and you put your breech straight in. Now you can do that. He's also making steel reinforcement plates that Hobby Mods used to make. And the reason why I'm going for this sled with this Australian Nerf Turf 16 kilo spring is because that was my 14 kilo sled. It worked well for 2 or 3 years with my 14 kilo long shot. As soon as I upgraded it to 16 kilos, that happened. So this is a specially made sled that's made to handle 14. I tried to push it to 16 and that happened. And that one, this is made of plastic. This one cost me about $40 anyway. So I can reinforce that later and put it in a low yield long shot. Now Hobby Mods used to make these plates, and this is the original sled that was in my long shot. You can see these alloy plates that are put in here. They're 0.4 mil epoxied on. Spencer is going to do 0.6 mil because 0.4 really isn't strong enough for going to 16 kilos. For your 8s and your 14s, yeah, that's fine. As soon as you step it up, you need something stronger, and Spencer will release that on his page, where he's going to have the 0.6 mil aluminium. That's what happens, even with a reinforced sled, that's what happens with 14 kilos. So, like I said, I wanted this sled, so I know I'm not going to have problems with it breaking or anything else. And I'm going to be using this Australian Nerf Turf 16 kilo spring. And this is their new released 8 kilo spring, which put together gives you a 24 kilo long shot. Try to compress that. Nice and strong. So that's one's being kept for my Exist 2 that I've ordered. Get rid of that, get rid of that. I know that's the 16. That's a standalone 16 kilo spring. So back to Spencer's parts. I said I've got the Artifact sled off Spencer. I've also got the Artifact metal trigger, which is rounded, nice and comfortable. And for installation on that, it's only removing one screw. So we're going to go over a lot of things in this long shot video. It's not just the breech. Take the spring off. Spring on the metal one. And like I said, he sells these. Get back here, you little bugger. All these parts I've ordered off Spencer. Now I've got a couple of parts here from Gavin Fuzzy Customs, which I'll show you in a minute. Where'd my screw go? There. Never mind, just losing my marbles. So there's going to be a lot of shadows because I work under down lights on my desk here. So now I've got the metal trigger in, we got the upgraded catch. Now I'm going to install this, which I said is a Gavin Fuzzy quick release. And I'll show you how it works. He sends it to you with a guide. I'm going to find the guide, we're going to be alright. It's under here. He sends it with that guide. So what you do is you mark on the round bottom on the bit of your long shot here, make sure it's straight. You mark the rectangle out against the plastic with a texter. What I do with it to make it easy is I drill some small holes in the corners, and I run a fine Dremel bit around and just stop when it hits the holes. And then I just clean out the corners with a little bit of sanding knife. So what it looks like, this is half the butterflied shell. That's half of it, and the other half is here on the bench. So, which is just that template put over that, nice and straight. And I said the template is included with the piece. So when that's all cut out, this sits in here like this. Nice and smooth. And what it does is this lever activates the mag release here. So by pushing that forward or pushing that down, you're releasing the mag, which I find a lot more comfortable than trying to get your finger around into there when you've got one hand here and one hand on a pump grip, personally. Okay. So back on the Spencer's kit now. I think I said it before, the kit is $60. So that is now glued in place. I don't have any worries about it. And that's a plunger. It's a nice airtight seal. And with these plungers, I personally have these caps. When I find one, I pulled one out for this video. I did have a ring out here earlier. I think something got moved. For your plunger head pad. There we go. I use these. They're pads you put on the bottom of furniture legs so they don't scratch. They're pretty cheap and they do the job, and they're nice and they compress well. I like it a smaller than the top of the head. That way you got no worries about corners overhanging and getting caught between the plunger wall and the O-rings. And something like that, well, when it contacts, it only contacts that much inside, which is, to me, looks about 8-10 mil. So that's what's going to contact. So all I've got to do is glue that on. Put down a little bit of super glue. It does have glue with it. A little bit of super glue ain't gonna hurt. Sit back down. And if you want to, you can cut an X in it so you can get back to the screw later if you need to take it apart. So once again, super glue will just take a minute or two to bond. Now Spencer does sell the upgraded artifact heads and rear caps, but I don't need any of those. Some people do get them. So with Artifact 2, you can buy the pre-made breeches, which are a lot easier to drop in, but they only fire Stephens, and they're pre-made by Artifact over in China. So that should have enough time to go off. So we're going to put the breech in, put the sled on now. So just got to undo the screw. In the normal longshot sled, it's held in by a pin. And a quick easy way, I've got tools here to do it, but a quick easy way to remove that pin, pull that out, push it in there because it's the same size pin, push it in there, move that up a bit, push it in there on the stock one, get your hammer or back into your screwdriver, tap 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 tap, and it comes out. Well, that's it. I've got a fold down tool I use for doing that. It might be helpful if you don't, if you need to get the stock sled off. I've got lube on my hands now, so everything is slippery. So that's back in place. Okay, so the sled. Slide it in under here, the Artifact sled, and it locks in. And get it lined up. There you go, it's in place. And I'll be able to tighten that screw in. It's lined up. But if you know what you're doing with this, you're more than welcome to skip forward. It's going to take me a while because like I said, I've got lube all over my hands now. So this is a very straightforward kit if you don't want to do a brass breech yourself. They are time intensive and it does cost you money, especially if you make a mistake. So this is a very good drop-in kit with minimal amount of work to make a brass breech long shot. And it eventually screws in. A long thread on it. Waiting, waiting, waiting. Sit back down. And an interesting thing with what Spencer does with his barrel, you see it there, he's custom 3D prints spaces that lock it in place. I'll show you how those work when I get this sled in. Once again, you can buy the reinforcement plates off Spencer if you want to, and do it while you save up a bit of money to get yourself a metal sled. It's all in now. It is an option that will keep you going for a while, especially if you haven't got the money to drop that much straight away. Okay, so got to re-lube up the metal sled, because metal on plastic, the plastic's going to wear first. So let's give it a good coating of lube on here. Give the plastic a bit of a chance. Some of these rails. There are slides in the shell. So there's a lot of work on this. A lot of time. I don't want to say work, but there's a lot of time doing this. Because I'm doing all the extra bits. So if you had the reinforcement plates, it would be epoxying those on. And then coming back to it when the epoxy's gone off in a few days. But because I've got the metal sled, we're just dropping that straight in. The next thing I've got to do is drop in this big beast of a spring. Once again, I've got lube all over my hands. Spencer's got a Facebook and Instagram accounts, which I'll do links to both. I'll find my end plate. There's my end plate. So then you've got to compress that down. Now when you do this, especially when you're under a bit of stress, hold it down. Instead of just getting in there and pounding your screw in, if you want this to live a bit longer, put the screw halfway in and put your other one in, then tighten them up equally. That way you've got equal amount of force going down on the little plastic lugs that hold the screws in. There, a bit more on that one. Just evenly distribute the pressure a bit till they're screwed in all the way and locked in. Don't over tighten these, because I have seen them over tighten and split. Till you got a little bit of pressure against it, that's when you need to stop. There you go. There you go, 16 kilo spring put in. Again, lube. That jam door out for now. That dark gate out. And there is a flat spot here that lines into there, so when you're laying your plunger tube in, it locks in against the reinforcement place, the housing down here. Take the stock off because it's a bit easier to work when it's flatter. There you go. Shell screw. Okay. Now what I was saying with the barrel is, I've already got one screw removed. You take out the other screw here, it holds screwdriver. It holds a muzzle in place. Now he makes it specially so it wedges in and you don't need to glue it or anything. What you'll see when I put it in place, you'll see what I mean. Sorry guys, like I said, I'm not used to filming in this area because this is where I do my work. Okay. What if I put the plunger into here first while it's drying? Anyway. Okay, so you see in here, facing up, you got the 4 little posts in there. He makes that to lock into the posts there. So that's locked into that post. And then on the receiver here, when you've got the false barrel removed, it locks into there. So that's not going anywhere now. You screw it down, lock it in, and it's not going anywhere. So no glue, no nothing. Can't believe I forgot to put the plunger in. Yeah, no, I'm not going to edit it. You can see I goofed. I screwed it up, I'll admit it. No, So take these screws out. Again, splitting the pressure, removing and putting in. Otherwise one side's taking all the pressure. Helps if you put a plunger in, helps deliver the air. So everything I'm using here today, except for the mag release and eventually the pump, are available through Spence's store on Facebook. And like I said, he has got his own Instagram. Alright, let's get this. You know what, I've totally goofed this up today. I've been concentrating on the breech that much. I have totally goofed this. Because you've got to put the catch on the end plate onto the spring, the plunger. I didn't do that yet. Too busy going through the steps. Got to pre-compress the plunger before you're ready to go. So I've done this that many times and I still forgot. Screws are out. Spring is on. Now I'm just pushing this into my body now, so it might be a little bit off camera. Can't believe I goofed up that much. Oh. So I've just poked a hole through this felt head here so I can access the screw. The screw is flattened out at the bottom. That's everything in place now. 16 kilo spring on the plunger. Give that an extra tighten and make sure that's in. I swear I have done this before. I just seem to be having a good run at it at the moment. Just going to screw this muzzle piece back in because I don't want it popping out when I put pressure against the breech. If you want to, with this kit, you can always get your fake barrel and cut it and fill it in that gap. I'm not too worried about it if you want to keep the aesthetic look. And with this too, you can cut the barrel down to whatever length you like. Because this is going to 16, I don't know if you can see it yet. Because this is going to 16 kilo, the barrel is longer for the amount of output. I suggest cutting it flat if you're going to 18 or 14 or smaller. Okay, it's time to put this back in. So we've got the 16 kilo spring. So despite my stuff up, it is a nice easy kit to install. You just got to glue two bits together and reinstall. Sorry, I'm off camera again, I know. I'm just trying to do this while holding the pressure of this 16 kilo spring against. I'm not going to cut or do anything else because I'm just going to show you that everyone can screw it up when they're doing it. Even though this is a straightforward, easy kit, still I managed to screw it up. Nothing that can't be rectified in a couple of seconds. Alright, so once again, slide that in, slide your breech in together. Then we're going to fit the end in here, and you'll hear a snap in place when it's all locked in. There's one, and then you'll hear another one down the back here. There it is. And the catch came out. It's alright, that can be fixed. Magnetic screwdriver. that priming indicator, if you don't want it, you can pull it out. I just left it in there, but I never use it. I can always tell when my blasters are primed. This wouldn't happen on a track video. He's professional. Right, you want to know how to drop in a long shot kit? I'll show you how to drop in a long shot kit. There you go, that's in. And now that spring's come loose. You can leave it in. I'll just leave it in here. Take it out, does nothing. Pretty little priming indicator at the end of your blaster. Comes back in place. It actually does give you, covers your catch spring a little bit more. Alright, so our breech is in place. One thing you need to watch when you're putting these in is this little black plate doesn't catch on the plastic behind. It hasn't done that to me here, but it's not seated in yet. Now it's seated in and I've just lost everything again. Oh well. Said you don't need the priming indicator, so I'm going to leave it out because it's been annoying. Hold on. I'll put it back in there, just for giggles. Right, now everything's locked in, everything's done. Now just got to re-screw it together. Put the jam door back in if you want the jam door. Some people leave it out. I put it back in. The jam door fits around the sled. I did have a play around with this breech before I started, and it just joins together so nicely and so smoothly. Alright, so that's everything back in. This wants to stay in place. Catches in, triggers in, bunch of tubes down. I don't even know where the hell that came from, so let's move that out of there. Other side of the shell down, then put the pump grip on and we'll see how she goes. Trigger's catching. Everything's in. Until it screws. What I do with this, especially when I've got a lot of screws, I use my hand as a marker, and whatever's forward of my hand I've done, so I'll slide my hand all the way down the blaster. Let's get the little one down here. You can't see unless you're right over it. But like I said with Spencer, he's making these breeches to order, so they will take a bit of time. He's still got a 3-day epoxy it in together and everything else, and you'll have to send your own breech to him first. Either that or wait for him to locate another one. So that if you want full length darts and you can't brass breech it yourself, then Spencer would be your best bet, and he will ship it worldwide. Said he is a F10555 and Worker importer, as well as Artifact, Whatever's made for Nerf, he'll get it. And he's become the agent for Australian Nerf Turf springs, whose springs are fantastic and only ones I use on my springers, because there's so much power and output in those springs. They're just made specifically for Nerf, and they are so good. But I've seen a comparison in one of my long shots. At 14 kilos, at a Hobby Mods 14 kilo spring, the output was about 180, 190. With an 8 kilo Nerf Turf spring, the output was 170 to 180 feet per second. So for a spring that's allegedly almost half as weak, the output is right there. So I can't speak highly enough of those springs that are made by Australian Nerf Turf. That's all I will use. So I just need a dart, which I should have here. Just grab any dart. And I'm not going to put the priming bar in, so I've got a pump handle going into it. Why is it not catching? Fucking video. Sorry, I shut the pause because I didn't have any darts or mag around to test this out before I put the pump grip back on. So I've got 3 darts here. These are FVJ darts, just your Chinese knockoff. Screwdriver to prime it, just until I get the grip in. One in. That's what 16 kilo brass breech sounds like going into a wall. One more time, might be a bit loud for you. Actually, 1 second. Solid cardboard box, pretty strong on the walls. And dart's gone straight through. Alright, now I'll put this pump grip back on. Always the best way, this is a quick release here. Nice and easy, you don't have to touch the sides. Just push that down. To tell how good your breech is to see how much air it holds in. No dart, no dart. So by covering the end and pushing it, you'll see how good your seal is. That's pretty good seal. For, especially considering it's made to order, it's not put in the blaster. You can see there, I'll reopen the breech, the overlap where the bolt goes in over the barrel. So it's got a few mil there of overlap, which is what gives you a better seal. Oh, that was off camera, but anyway, you get the idea. It does hold the air in. And this is my Gavin Fuzzy pump grip. I do love Gavin's work. He is a fantastic 3D printer. But if you're after like your worker type, sorry, F10555 type, Spencer does stock those in his store. But I love Gavin's work. Nothing wrong with the F10555. But everyone's got their preferences. I've got 3 long shots now. Well, one's a Zeus, so my blue long shot has an Explorer grip. This one has Gavin's grip, which feels pretty much the same to me, except for injection mold versus printed, but still, quality on Gavin's is really good. Get the screws lined up properly. There's my flat screwdriver on. Missing. Let's use a small Phillips. There we go. Just screw it in. But yeah, you've seen that breech of Spencer's just pushed straight through a cardboard box. And the dart didn't stop, it kept going. With some breeches, with some blasters, it will stick in the box. That cleared the whole dart and kept going. It's underneath my desk here somewhere now. Pushed straight through the box and went straight into a cavity underneath. So this is why I really do like the longshot. Is my favourite blaster, the brass breech longshot. Sure, you can get air blasters that are more powerful, but just some satisfaction you get out of pumping it, priming it, and shooting at 200, 220 per second on the 16 kilo spring. See what, blaster ain't going to be good much longer if I keep dropping it. See, with Gavin's grip, it's reinforced by bolts being, by nuts being here, so that's what I'm actually screwing into. Like some other ones that you will actually just screw into the 3D print itself. But by doing it this way, it's making it that much stronger. Said love your grip, Gavin. Good work if you do watch. Allen key. And it's that one. This one up. I haven't done up all the screws properly yet, but you get the idea. Sure to keep the nut square at the other end. Just an extra bit of tightening. Not too tight that pinches the shell, but tight enough to make sure it's locked in. And what I do, because I've got the extra overhang on here, I found the, what's it called again? Ion Fire barrel extension. Goes on really well. Covers your brass. And where to put my mag down. Set that box up here, I've got another 2 shots. We'll see what this pump action long shot can do. Another firing demo. It's a 16 kilo long shot with the Spencer drop-in breech. Gavin Fuzzy Customs pump grip and mag release. But inside this is a 16 kilo Nerf turf spring and it said Spencer's breech. So that's 3 shots straight through. Hope you enjoyed watching. I hope, despite my little stuff up, not putting the plunger assembly together properly didn't throw you off. But for a drop-in breech that costs you $60, and it can do that with the 16 kilo spring. So that's not cheap cardboard either, that's pretty hard, compacted cardboard, and it's cutting straight through it. Anyway guys, thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe for more videos.